The snow wouldn't stop. The wind howled like a hungry beast. Snow flew in every direction, covering everything in white. The cold wasn't just cold. It was biting, sharp, and alive. It tore at her skin, cut through her clothes, and made it hard to breathe. The small alien girl, Lena, was no older than 12 in human years. Her hands trembled as she held her tiny pet close to her chest. Momu, the soft-furred creature, whimpered quietly in her arms. He was shaking badly, his little tail wrapped tightly around her arm. Lena could feel his heartbeat slowing. That scared her more than the cold. "I won't let you die," Lena whispered, her voice dry and weak. But she was lying. She couldn't save him. She couldn't even save herself. They had been running for hours. The escape pod had crashed deep, in the frozen region of Zethar Prime. No help came. No one was looking for her. She had already been thrown away like trash. A girl born from a lower caste. A girl with a useless pet. Her tribe didn't care. They never did. She found a large rock half buried in snow and curled behind it, trying to block the wind. Her fingers were purple. Her skin felt numb. She wrapped, her arms tighter around Momu, pressing her body against his to share whatever little warmth she had left. Snow piled on her shoulders. Her breath came slower now. Her eyes burned. And in that quiet final moment, Lena whispered, "I'm sorry." Momu, she closed her eyes. Everything became quiet, peaceful. Then crunch, a sound. Not wind. Not ice. Footsteps, slow, heavy. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Her eyes opened just a little. Blurry. She saw something. A shadow moving through the white. It didn't look like her kind. Tall, broad, covered in strange material. Glowing blue lines moved across its arms. Was she dreaming? "Hey!" The figure shouted through the storm. A voice, deep, strong. Male. Lena didn't answer. She couldn't. The shadow moved faster now. Closer. The human dropped to one knee and stared at the nearly frozen girl and her pet. "Damn, you're just a kid," he muttered. He quickly pulled out a thermal blanket and wrapped it around both of them. His gloved hands moved fast but gentle. He pressed something on his wrist device, and a bright heat field popped around them, melting the snow instantly. Momu let out a soft cry as his body warmed. Lena gasped. The warmth felt like fire. "You're gonna be okay," the human said. He lifted both of them carefully. His armor made soft, mechanical noises as he moved. Snow still blew everywhere, but the heat shield protected them like an invisible bubble. Lena tried to speak, but only a weak sound came out. "Save your energy," the human said. "Name's Eli. You don't need to talk right now." She didn't understand his words, but she heard the calm in his voice. The care. He carried them across the snow, step by step. The wind tried to knock him down, but he pushed forward, never slowing. His breath came out in clouds, but he didn't stop. Finally, they reached a rocky ridge. Eli slipped into a narrow cave entrance, sealing it behind them with a metal shield. He placed Lena gently on a soft thermal mat, covered her and Momu with thick blankets, then started a small fire using alien tech she had never seen before. The flames glowed orange. The ice on her skin began to melt. Lena coughed weakly. Momu licked her face and made a quiet chirp. Eli opened a pack and pulled out a food tube, holding it to her lips. "Come on, try this," he said softly. "Tastes like chocolate pudding, kinda." She hesitated, then sipped. Warm. Sweet. Life. Tears rolled down her face. She didn't know this man. But he saved her. He didn't ask who she was or why she was out in the deadly cold. He just saw a girl and her pet and chose to save them. Eli leaned against the cave wall, tired but alert. "You're safe now," he said, looking at her with kind eyes. "I got you." Lena's fingers gripped the edge of the blanket. Her heart, weak moments. Ego beat stronger now. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his world. But in that moment, she believed something she hadn't believed in a long time. She was going to live. The cave was quiet, but Lena's mind was not. She lay under the warm blanket, her tiny pet Momu curled against her chest. Her fingers moved slowly through his fur, checking if he was still breathing. He was. A little better now, but her eyes kept drifting toward the man sitting near the fire. The human. He was not like anyone she had seen before. Tall, broad-shouldered. His clothes were strange, dark armor with glowing lights that pulsed softly like a heartbeat. A strange mask rested beside him, the kind she had only seen in war stories told by the elders. His name, what was it? Ah, Eli. She remembered him saying that. Eli, the man who came out of the snow like a ghost. No ship, no beacon, just a walking fire that saved her from death. Lena sat up slowly. Her limbs still ached, but the heat was working. Her body shivered less. She didn't say a word. She didn't know how to speak his language, but she stared at him, studying. Eli noticed. He looked over and smiled gently. "You're a curious one," he said, tossing a small glowing cube into the fire. It burst with warmth. "Can't say I've seen many like you." Lena tilted her head. The words didn't make sense, but the tone did. He wasn't angry. He wasn't afraid. He was kind. He reached into his bag and took out a small, soft packet. He opened it and pulled out some food. Not for himself, but for Momu. He placed the food on a flat rock near her. Momu sniffed, and then quickly ate. His eyes lit up. Lena's lips parted in surprise. She looked at Eli again. Most people, especially in her old tribe, would never feed a beast. They barely cared for her. But this human, Eli leaned back, sighing. Didn't expect company, on this frozen hell of a planet. Was just doing a supply check. Then I saw your pod's smoke trail. He paused. You were hugging him so tight, like you were ready to die with him. Lena didn't respond. Her eyes lowered. She was ready to die. No one had ever come for her before. Why would they now? She reached into her coat and pulled out a broken silver device. It blinked red. Eli raised an eyebrow. Is that your locator? She nodded. He took it gently, examining the cracks. Well, that explains it. This thing's fried. No signals going out. He looked up at her. That's why no one came, huh? Lena didn't answer, but her silence said enough. Eli's smile faded a little. He nodded slowly. I get it, he said. You were abandoned. Those words cut deep. Even if she didn't understand the full sentence, she knew that word. Abandoned. Tears filled her eyes. Eli leaned forward. Hey, you're not alone anymore, okay? You've got me now. She blinked, stunned. No one had ever said that to her. Not her elders, not even her parents. Her tribe saw her as weak. Her telepathic gift with animals was seen as a curse, not a skill, and her refusal to fight, to hurt, made her a burden. But this human didn't care about that. He only cared that she was alive. Suddenly, the fire flickered. A sharp sound echoed from the back of the cave. Clink, clink. Eli's hand moved. Fast, he grabbed a weapon from his side. A long black rod that hummed to life with blue light. He stood up in one smooth motion, stepping in front of Lena. She froze, heart racing. From the shadows, a small rodent-like creature scurried into view. Eli lowered the weapon. Just a cave crawler. False alarm. Lena stared wide-eyed at the glowing weapon. It looked like a sword but had no blade, only light. She had only heard about human tech in forbidden stories. Her people feared humans, called them deathwalkers, dangerous, unpredictable. But Eli had shown her nothing but kindness. Momu walked over to him and gently nuzzled his boot. Eli chuckled and knelt down, scratching behind the creature's ear. Friendly little guy, just like you, he said. Lena didn't smile, but her eyes softened. Her heart, frozen for so long, felt something new. Safety. She looked around the cave. It was small but warm. For the first time in days, maybe weeks. She didn't feel like prey. She didn't feel invisible. Eli stood up. "We'll wait for the storm to pass. Then I'll take you to my base." He pointed to the far wall, where a small map flickered to life from his wrist device. A long route through mountains and frozen valleys, dangerous, impossible for someone alone, but maybe not together. Lena slowly reached out and touched his arm. Eli looked down, surprised. She nodded. She would go with him. The storm outside screamed louder, but inside the cave, a quiet bond had begun. The storm outside hadn't stopped, but inside the cave something was changing. Not the fire, not the wind, but the silence between them. Lena watched Eli as he worked with focused hands. He was fixing her broken locator using tools she didn't recognize. Tiny lights, spinning wires, and something that looked like liquid glass. His eyes never blinked for long. His fingers moved like a craftsman, precise and careful. But what surprised Lena most was his patience. Most adults from her world shouted when something broke. Eli didn't. He muttered softly, sometimes smiling, sometimes frowning, but always calm, as if helping her mattered. She sat near the fire with Momu, who had already claimed Eli's backpack as a cozy nest. The tiny creature curled up on top of it, purring lightly, safe and warm. He trusted the human already, and slowly, so did Lena. She picked up one of Eli's strange tools, a long silver stick with blinking colors, and tilted her head in confusion. Eli glanced over and chuckled. "That's not a snack." Lena blinked at him. He pointed to his mouth, then shook, his head with a smile. "Not food." Lena giggled. Just a little. Her first sound of joy in a long time. He looked over, eyes softening. "That's better." She didn't know the words, but she knew the feeling. He liked seeing her smile. Eli turned his attention back to the locator. "I can't fix the whole thing," he said, "but maybe I can pull the ID code. If we find out who abandoned you, maybe we can find where to go next." Lena tensed. She shook her head quickly. "No," she said softly. It was one of the few words she could say in human language. "No. Go back." Eli looked up. "You don't want to return?" She shook her head again. Fierce. Final. Eli leaned back. "All right then. We won't." He didn't ask more questions. He just respected it. That alone made Lena feel something powerful. Freedom. Suddenly, Momu's ears perked up. He let out a low growl. Lena stiffened. She had learned to trust that sound. It meant something was nearby. Something not good. Eli's hand moved to his weapon, but he didn't draw it yet. He raised a finger to his lips. "Stay quiet," he whispered. The cave trembled slightly. A low vibration, then a strange humming from above. Lena's breath caught in her throat. A scout drone. It hovered near the cave's ceiling, round, black, with sharp red lights circling around its eye. It buzzed softly as it scanned the cave. Eli didn't move. Lena didn't move. Momu didn't even breathe. The drone passed right over their heads. Paused. Then moved toward the back of the cave. A red beam flashed as it scanned the wall. Suddenly, Eli acted. He raised his arm and tapped a button on his wrist. Thwip. A soundless dart shot from a hidden launcher and struck the drone. The red light died instantly. The drone dropped like a rock. Eli caught it before it hit the ground. Lena stared wide-eyed. "Just a local scout," Eli muttered. "Probably looking for life signs. Good thing I shielded ours." He looked at her seriously. "That means someone's searching this area. Maybe your people, maybe someone worse." Lena lowered her eyes. She didn't care who it was. They weren't coming for her. They were coming to erase the mistake. Eli powered down the drone and stuffed it in his gear. Then he sat beside her, close enough for warmth but not too close to scare her. "You're not their problem anymore," he said softly. "You're mine now. My responsibility." Lena looked up. His words, even if she didn't understand all of them, made something crack inside her chest. Her heart, frozen like the snow, felt a strange warmth. She reached into her satchel and pulled out something small, a tiny crystal charm tied with red thread. She held it out to him. Eli blinked. "What's this?" She placed it in his hand. He looked at it, then at her. "You want me to keep this?" She nodded. It was a symbol from her people. It meant trust. She was giving him a piece of her soul. Eli closed his fingers around the charm. "Then I'll guard it with my life," he said. In that moment, no translator was needed. The ice was gone, not outside, but inside their hearts. 2. Souls from different worlds sitting by a fire, knowing that they had only each other now. The storm may still rage tomorrow, but tonight they had warmth, they had trust, and they had a bond strong enough to melt any ice. The fire was dying. The warmth in the cave began to fade, but it wasn't the cold that woke Lena. It was the sound, a low rumble from above, like thunder rolling across metal skies. Her eyes snapped open. Momu was already alert, his ears flat, his tiny body pressed tight against her chest. She crawled toward the cave entrance and peeked past the shield Eli had placed there. The air shimmered as the energy barrier buzzed softly, almost invisible. And beyond that, the sky was no longer white. It glowed red. Not from sunset, but from a ship. A giant one. Its engines shook the mountains. Its shadow fell across the ice like a black curtain. Lena's heart stopped. She knew that shape, her tribe's hunter ship, not a rescue craft, not a family return. That ship was for punishment, for removal, as they called it. If they were, here it wasn't for help. It was to finish what they started when they cast her out. She rushed to Eli's side and shook his arm. He woke instantly, hand reaching for his weapon. "What's wrong?" She pointed toward the cave entrance, panicked. Eli checked his wrist scanner. It blinked with red warning lights. Damn. Big ship above, scanning the ice. He stood quickly. "They're looking for something, or someone." Lena touched her chest and then made an X across it. Then she pointed upward and shook her head violently. Eli got the message. "They're not friends." "Got it." He moved fast, packing up their supplies, hiding the heat mat, wrapping everything in camo fabric. He didn't ask for more details. He trusted her signs. Lena grabbed her pet and tucked Momu into a small pouch inside her coat. He stayed still, sensing the fear in her heartbeat. Eli deactivated the heat field and turned toward her. "We can't stay here. If they scan deep enough, they'll find us. We need to move. Now." Lena nodded. But outside, it was still freezing. The storm had passed, but the temperature was even lower than before. The sky had cleared, just in time for Death to see clearly. They stepped out of the cave, Eli leading. His scanner pointed toward a ridge on the eastern slope, rocks tall enough to hide them, tunnels beneath that might keep them covered. But the red light from the sky followed them. As they moved, Lena's mind was racing. She remembered the last time she saw that ship. It hovered over her village like a judge, staring down at her like she was diseased. She had refused to harm Momu during her rite of passage. A child was not allowed to love a beast, so they called her unworthy. Her mother had looked away. Her father had done nothing. Only Momu cried as she was dragged away. Now they had returned. Maybe they wanted to erase the shame she caused. Maybe they were hunting her just to clean the record. Eli pulled her behind a tall ridge and stopped. He whispered, "Wait." A sharp humming noise passed overhead. Not the big ship. This was smaller. A drone. Searching. Hunting. They crouched low as the drone passed. Its light scanned the snow, then kept going. Lena breathed again. Eli looked at her. "They're using military tech. Very advanced. Not local militia." Lena reached into her pocket and pulled out a small pendant, a glowing orb with tribal markings. She handed it to him. He studied it. This is their signal? She nodded, then took a stick and drew in the snow, a symbol that meant exile. She circled it, then placed an X across the whole thing. Eli frowned. You were cast out, and now they want you gone forever. Lena nodded, eyes hard. He tightened his jaw. Not on my watch. He pulled out a device the size of a small book. It blinked blue and showed a 3D map of the valley. There's a crash site not far from here, he said. Old Terran escape ship. If its core is intact, we can send a signal. Lena touched his arm and nodded quickly. She believed in him. She didn't care where Earth was. She just wanted to be anywhere else but under the red sky of her people. They ran again through deep snow, staying low. Above, the giant ship circled slowly like a hungry vulture. But on the ground, a girl and a human moved fast. One had been thrown away like nothing. The other had once walked alone through the stars. Now together, they were becoming something stronger. The hunted would learn to survive. And the sky would witness a story it never expected. The sun was gone, and with it, so was safety. The sky above turned pitch black, not from clouds, but from absence. The stars were hidden behind the looming shadow of the hunter ship, still circling like a silent predator. Its red lights blinked, slowly, casting long shadows over the ice. Lena and Eli had made it across the frozen valley. Now they entered a place Eli had marked on his map, a jagged canyon of black stone and deep cracks, carved by ancient winds and forgotten beasts. But even Eli hadn't expected what waited inside. As they crept between two tall rock spires, Lena felt it first. A strange cold, not from the air but from the ground. Momu whimpered softly from inside her coat. Eli stopped. Something's wrong, he muttered. He pulled out a scanning stick from his belt. The light blinked green, then yellow, then red. Movement. All around us, he whispered. Lena held her breath. The silence was sharp like a knife. Then, a soft crunch. Another. From the shadows ahead, eyes appeared. Not two, not four. Dozens. Glowing. Watching. Waiting. And then, a growl, low, long. Hungry. Lena stepped back. She'd heard about these creatures in old tales whispered at night. The night howlers. Beasts with frozen skin and bone armor who slept under the ice during the day and hunted under the moons. Eli stepped in front of her, his glowing sword snapping to life. Stay behind me, he said. The first beast leapt from the dark. A massive thing. 6 legs, long claws, and a mouth that opened sideways. It screamed like breaking metal as it charged. Eli met it mid-air. With one swing, the sword of light sliced through its chest. The beast crashed to the ground dead before it hit the ice. But more were coming. Too many. Lena trembled. Her knees shook. The cold had returned. But it wasn't from the air. It was from fear. Eli fought like a soldier from another time. His blade flashed blue in the dark. Each strike perfect, clean, fast. He was strong, but even he was just one man. A second beast jumped from behind. Lena screamed. Eli turned too late. But something else moved faster. Momu. The tiny creature shot from Lena's, coat glowing suddenly with light. He latched onto the monster's face and released a high-pitched pulse. The creature howled in pain and fell, stunned. Eli finished it quickly. What did your pet just do? He gasped. Lena didn't know either. She had never seen Momu use that power. But deep inside she understood. He wasn't just a pet. He was her protector too. But the beasts were still coming. Eli looked around. We can't fight all of them. He spotted a narrow tunnel in the rock wall. There, he shouted. Move! Lena didn't hesitate. She grabbed Momu and ran with Eli into the crack in the wall. It led into a tight cave that twisted down into the earth. They ran through it, slipping on the ice, hearts racing. The beasts tried to follow, but the tunnel was too narrow. Their roars echoed from behind, but none came through. Finally, they stopped. They were in a small chamber deep underground. Quiet. Safe. For now. Eli dropped to one knee, panting. That was close. Lena fell to the ground beside him, holding Momu close. Her whole body shook, not from cold, but from what she'd seen. She had never watched someone fight for her before, not even her own people. Eli looked over at her. His face was tired. A small cut bled on his cheek, but he smiled anyway. You all right? She nodded. Then, without thinking, she crawled over and wrapped her arms around him. Eli froze for a moment, then gently hugged her back. They sat there, like that, two strangers from different worlds, hearts pounding together in the dark. Above them, the beasts howled. The hunter ship blinked red, but down here, in the deep earth, something stronger than fear was growing. Trust, loyalty, and a promise, unspoken but real. They would not leave each other behind, no matter what hunted them. The cave had no light, just darkness, breath, and quiet tears. Lena lay curled beside Eli. Her small body trembled, not from fear this time, but from the cold returning. The tunnel had saved them from the beasts, but now it was stealing their heat. Eli had used the last energy cell to power the sword during the fight. The heater was empty. No food left. No firewood. No sun. No stars. Only stone and silence. Momu was quiet now, too. His small glow had faded after using his strange pulse. He lay in Lena's arms, too weak to move. And Eli, he sat leaning against the wall, his breath slow. Too slow. Lena reached out and touched his hand. Ice. His fingers were ice. Her eyes widened. Eli, she whispered, barely able to speak. He turned his head slowly. His lips were blue. His eyes foggy, but he smiled. Still here. She shook her head and pulled at his arm. He didn't move. Lena, he said softly. You need to stay warm. You and the little guy. He looked at her like a big brother, like someone who cared. I'll cover you, with everything I have. She didn't understand all the words, but she understood what he was doing. He was giving up, to save her, like a shield, like a coat, like a hero from old stories. No, she whispered. She grabbed his jacket and tried to pull it off him. He was using it to keep her and Momu warm. But she didn't want it this way. Eli coughed, then chuckled. You're a stubborn one. Tears filled her eyes. Her hands lit up faintly, her alien gift once seen as a curse. It wasn't strong. It couldn't fight or burn things. But it could do one thing. Connect. She reached inside her coat and pulled out the last thing her mother had given her. A small pouch of life root. A rare herb that shared warmth between living beings. She crushed it gently, mixing it with moisture from the cave wall. Then, holding the paste in her hand, she pressed her palm to Eli's chest. His body jerked slightly. He looked at her. What are you doing? She didn't answer. She closed her eyes and focused. The warmth left her slowly. She could feel it draining into him. Her fingers shook. Her head felt light. But she kept going. His breath grew stronger. His skin stopped shivering. His heart beat faster, and hers slower, until Eli opened his eyes fully. No, stop, you're freezing. He pushed her back gently, pulling her into his lap. He wrapped his arms around her tightly, crushing her to his chest like a father shielding. A daughter. You're not going out like that, he growled. I didn't save you for this, she gasped, the life root magic fading. Her body shook hard, her teeth chattering, but Eli held her tighter, rubbing her arms, whispering, Come, stay with me. You're strong. You're not giving up. Not after everything. Momu crawled over weakly and pressed against them both, his small body trembling but offering what little warmth he had. The three of them, alien girl, tiny beast, human soldier, became one small bundle of life in a cave of death. The minutes passed like hours, then finally, a sound. Beep. Eli's wrist console blinked. A signal, the emergency beacon he'd activated days ago, had finally been heard. A human rescue ship was entering orbit. He laughed. Actually laughed. Lena opened her eyes. Weak, but awake. Eli kissed the top of her head. We made it. Hours later, a warm beam of golden light cut through the cave. A rescue. Team in white armor rushed in, wrapping both of them in thermal blankets, lifting them onto stretchers. Momu was placed in a soft heated box, safe and purring again. Lena tried to speak but could only whisper one word. Eli. He reached out, weak but smiling. I'm right here. Their hands touched, and for the first time in her life, Lena felt truly warm. Not from fire, not from magic, but from a heart that chose her over itself. The sun was rising, not on Zethar Prime. No, a new sun, a new world. The glass of the observation window glowed gold as Lena pressed her fingers against it. Below, Earth turned slowly. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds swirling like soft blankets. She had never seen anything so beautiful. No storms, no red lights in the sky, just peace. Behind her, machines hummed quietly inside the medical bay of the human rescue ship. Lena wore clean clothes now, soft, warm, not made for survival but comfort. Her wounds had healed, her frostbite was gone, and Momu slept peacefully in a little bed beside her, surrounded by warm lights and pillows. She had been given food, warmth, and safety, but all she wanted was one face. Eli, she whispered. The door behind her hissed open. She turned fast. There he was, standing, slowly, but standing. He walked with a limp, a bandage on one leg, a patch over one eye, and a big smile on his face. Miss me? He asked. Lena ran. She threw her arms around him before he could even kneel. He grunted from the pressure but laughed anyway. I guess that's a yes. She pulled back and showed him something, a drawing. On the paper, drawn with crayons given by the ship's nurse, was a picture of her, Momu, and Eli, all holding hands under a bright sun. Eli looked at it and smiled. You're an artist now? She nodded proudly. He sat beside her and looked out the window. You know, he said, you don't have to go back. You don't ever have to see that place again. Lena looked at him. She knew what he meant. Her tribe, her people, her past. They had chosen to forget her, but she had found something stronger. Eli continued. We've got a base near Earth. Training, learning, safety. People who care. You could stay with us. With me. He paused. Only if you want. Lena didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into her coat, now washed and patched, and pulled out the small red-threaded charm, the one she'd once given him in the cave. She placed it in his hand again, but this time, she tied it to his wrist. A choice, a bond, a promise. Eli looked down at the charm, then at her. He nodded. All right then. We're family now. Suddenly, the screen beside them blinked. A message. Incoming ship. Small. Zethar tribal markings. Eli frowned. They found us? Lena stood slowly. She walked to the window. One ship, small and rusted, was approaching the human vessel. No weapons active, no shields raised. A signal came through. We come to retrieve the lost one. She belongs to us. Eli stepped forward. Hell no, but Lena raised a hand. Let me, she whispered. He paused. She activated the comm screen. A hologram of a tribal elder appeared. Cold eyes, sharp voice. You were not meant to survive, child. Return now and perhaps your shame will be erased. Lena didn't flinch. She looked into the elder's eyes and slowly closed the connection. No words. No fear. Just power. She turned to Eli and gave him a small, confident nod. She had made her choice. No more exile. No more begging to belong. She had found her place. Eli knelt beside her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Good," he said, "because Earth has better stories anyway." She smiled. Behind them, Momu chirped. The ship turned away from the Zethar vessel and began its descent to Earth. As the clouds parted and blue oceans came into view, Lena closed her eyes. She remembered the ice, the pain, the fire in the cave, and the man who gave her his last breath. So she could see this moment. Now, she wasn't just alive. She was free. And she had something stronger than blood. She had a family,